regular meeting of the Township Council is being held in accordance with the scheduled meetings of the Township Council established and adopted by the Township Council, which schedule designated the time, date, and place of this meeting. Adequate public notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. We are using an electronic amplifying and recording device, and in order to obtain an audible and clear record, we request that all those wishing to speak be recognized and state your name and address directly into the microphone. The recording device is to be solely utilized by the Township Clerk's Office for the preparation of the minutes and shall be the official record of the Township Council meetings. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Present.
Mr. Owens?
Present.
Mrs. Stubbs?
Present.
Mrs. Winters?
Here.
Mr. Mignon?
Here.
Mrs. Strato?
Here.
Mr. Mercado?
He is not able to be here this evening.
Mr. Carlemere?
Here.
Mr. Cardis?
Here.
Mr. Lechner? Chief Earl?
Here.
Mr. Chadwell?
Here.
Okay, thank you. We have to go into a closed session for excessive subject matter for pending litigation. It'll probably take us about 20 minutes, and then we will resume.
So you can approve a resolution to go into closed session.
Could I have an approval to go into closed session, please?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Owens?
Yes.
Mrs. Stubbs?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes.
Mr. Mignon?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes. Okay, we'll be back.
It's in the office. He could go from his lips to his hips, but now.
was it nice?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No. Dude.
He said it. I heard this from him. I like the thing he said.
I hate everybody.
I want to read you something about.
Absolutely not. It's guy
I've
talk.
been reading.
It's guy talk. Which, I'm the only one you're allowed to say that to. There's another guy.
Good. How are you?
Thanks, what's up?
Oh, question for you. No, well, how's the police? The police worry is primarily private. Because we don't have a good answer on that now. I guess my question is, how cool are people? Can't drive all over the laws. If they can't, does that fall under the same? That's the issue. That's what we don't know. Because in the alcohol test, they have a machine over there. Testing positive for marijuana, but that's not, can't prove they were. That's the issue. You can prove they were under the influence, but did that influence cause impairment? That's the key. That's the big How do we feel about that? State association, yes. That's the big discussion. So there's some states saying you should, I think it's nanograms is the key term. X number of nanograms in your system will great to many everybody. But then people will argue, yeah, but I smoked that 3 days ago and I'm fine. And you would be fine. So there's no good answer. I think just why. It seems like it seems people.
You don't want to be reading that in the back.
Slow down.
Yeah.
I think because of these issues.
He's not so much worried about you.
Yeah, I'm going to prison this year. February or March. I've been to some. They say they have a lot of accidents. So no one should be opposite. And then you'll say
Just so you want to make it seem that they're pretty bad. The deposits.
oh, is it oh, really?
They're giving back $500. I don't know how many they have. Why are you giving back the 5 deposits?
Yeah.
Last week it was you collect the mayor's and have $100 deposits. Now he's giving it back. Like, what's going on?
Huh. Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't know that.
All right, cool. That was it. That's all I had.
Yeah,
Just one question.
Watch it yet, Chief?
I'm sorry?
Did you watch it yet? It's on all day, all night, and all weekend.
What was it?
Live beat.
Oh, yeah, no, I've seen it. Yeah. They came up there once and they never got back to us.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
It was tiny. You were done.
Florida, Texas, Arizona, Nevada, California, and Rhode Island, where we're at now.
I think they sent us an email. And we just wanted back there and then call. So, yeah, good talk. And then we never.
There's all kinds of personalities.
No, I mean, you're misreading what that conversation is.
Oh, yeah.
That's a temporary budget for the last
A&E, it's on.
My son was watching.
calendar quarter.
There's one guy that's on there from,
26.25%.
I think he's from South Carolina. He's got this incredible voice when he talks. Now, you got some that are, you got these guys who are very fair, very nice. Like I said, I'm just starting to see somebody for some reason doesn't have a driver's license, no identification, and happens to have marijuana in the car. And you got a tail light out. Why would you? It's just, you shouldn't.
People bring a tape.
I mean, and not have,
It is confusing. I wouldn't.
I forgot my wallet. You can rest assured, it's 35 miles an hour. Not that I ever forget it. You know, it's there's a couple of them that really.
But in Gloucester County,
I didn't know at first when it first broke. It was, I thought it was Amazon because they're right around the corner.
yeah.
Well, they handled it. They got it done.
Yeah, yeah, they did.
I don't care what the guy's name is. They put him down, and he's able to get back up.
Yeah, the national news, that was flashing across everybody.
I'm tired of watching TV anymore.
Yeah, it's tough. That's true.
Now the president is for Russia.
Yeah, it's just constant. It's not what it used to be. You know what I mean? Don't just grab the best. It's like it's opinions. You know what I mean?
But they ought to sell it as that.
Yeah, it's you know, it's commentary. It's weird. Some channels are different. Like BBC One was home here and what happened to that.
True, but the only problem is that they make some things out to be factual about Mr. Snuffleupagus. He's doing a story about the current administration when he was part of the former administration. And then it's,
They really find some people, don't they? Come in and talk.
and I watch them all. It's, you know, best way to form an opinion is to watch the people actually saying what it is that they say. In case you're an opinion.
It's true.
It is what it is.
I thought I realized that. That's all I'm saying. Really?
don't know. As it turns out, I do. Maybe. Mm-hmm. Well, you still have it.
Oh, it's both parts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I had to go down and look at my radio, which was in gold box car. What's that? That's pretty cool. That doesn't do that?
Jones had one.
He did. One exists.
Yeah.
Might be just about
It probably should be.
a good dog. She's really smart.
Dog. Only growls at us like that. Trying to put flowers out the door. It's like from a bear. He was fine to put it over his head. Tried to get it fall through the shirt. It was dead. Yeah. He's getting the back one down. He goes. That was a big question, right?
I know these people from Gloucester Township. Yes. That's offensive. He's gone. Get out. It's a murder case.
No one knows $3,000.
was hoping we were going to get that like. I sent that to you guys by mistake. It also went to Kim.
Okay. Got to tap myself on the back for that.
Love it.
Well, yeah, you were on the
I sent that to you. So we should just block them. I can tell you that. Prosecutor's office blocked. Okay. Prosecutor's office can give us a letter or something. Or a mute. Send something down the letter. You don't have to pay anything.
yeah. Look at this. That came in so
Yeah. What do you think, BuzzFeed?
I just said it black on my cabbage.
BuzzFeed got that. What's the name of BuzzFeed?
Does he really?
They said 20 minutes.
From that airport.
And the airport in every direction. I looked at it, it's in Wisconsin. You know, I looked at Appleton. I didn't know. So you could probably Wisconsin to like Appleton and then walk here to Green Bay and then get on one of those little lanes and go to one of those regional airports. It's fall. US Capitol.
I'm confident that's enough.
I think it's gonna happen. It's happening or something like that.
Oh, absolutely. Whatever you want to do, that's what that's to the other.
He's after poker. That's his problem. System one. He's got an office in Kansas.
Does it?
No. One in Delaware.
Nobody hurt, fortunately. I mean, there wasn't hurt. It was, if there was anything, it was just checked out, but, yeah. It was like a little bit of light rain maybe that night, whatever it was. Yeah.
You know, I'm at the point where that put it. Cement battery on college. You notice it.
That curve on my career, it's gotten better since they repaved it. Man,
You should thank it.
it is. There's the talk about rebuilding it, but we're down to like a single lane. There's 2 lanes really necessary.
It's just a matter of people flying around.
Yeah.
Let me not take their time.
The 2 lanes. In the heyday when college was more crowded, it's not as crowded as it used to be. I mean, you were avoid college around 1 o'clock. I think it's designed for that volume, which I don't think is there anymore. Plus, you have other entrances. You can go out to 42, or that was the main route to the college, but not more. Yeah, coming right off 42. That's probably a big part of it. I mean, college now, they do other campuses, they have online classes. It's not like just everybody went there, Now they're spread out all over the place.
They're still thinking they're offering free tuition for a good number of people right now.
Oh, really? Oh, for the governor's program?
I think it might be.
I haven't thought of that. Yeah. Longest closed session in a while. This is a long closed session. Right? Oh, really?
Sorry about that. Went a little longer than we had anticipated due to some further discussion. It is a matter that we are not able to talk about because it is still under pending litigation. Could I have roll call, please?
Mr. Hutchison?
Present.
Mr. Owens?
Present.
Mrs. Stubbs? Present. Mrs. Winters? Here. Mr. Mignone?
Here.
Mr. Strada?
Here.
Mr. Carlinger?
Here.
Mr. Cardis?
Here.
Chief Earl?
Here.
Mr. Lechner?
Here.
Mr. Chadwell?
Here.
Thank you. We will now have our first public portion. This is for agenda items only. Anyone addressing council may speak one at a time. There is a 3-minute limit. Once all those wishing to address council have had their turn, they may address council at a second time. Are there any questions? Go ahead, Pete, come on up.
Good afternoon, Pete Heinball, Morningstar Court. Good afternoon, I guess it's evening. Good evening. Couple agenda questions. Resolution 27. Could you explain those Finance Department refunds? The 5 refunds that are listed under that resolution?
Tom, can you further explain that?
Yeah, I'm going to give a brief explanation. I'm going to defer to Mr. Carlimer. These are the refunds of the deposits for those entities that were interested in the state-approved medical marijuana, and they were to be situated at a specific location in the town. They're being refunded now because they were not, this area was not awarded by the state in this first round, so we have to refund these monies.
Exactly correct. I'll give the same.
So this is, every applicant has been refunded. There's nothing's being retained. And the 2 licenses that are being awarded in South Jersey have been awarded then elsewhere?
I can't answer whether they've been awarded, but Gloucester Township is not in, so.
Okay, thank you. Second question, Resolution 30. It's titled Resolution of Need, which I've never seen before. Could you explain what we're doing with that resolution?
Franklin Square, am I correct? There are new owners. Franklin Square is a affordable senior housing. Probably very familiar with that. There are new owners that they want to reinforce the assignment of the tax abatement issues, and also they need to qualify that the township still supports it as a resolution of needs. It's standard for when they do transfers of funding from a new company taking over the complex.
Okay, I see this property is listed as, it's rated at $11 million, but it's also listed as tax exempt. And it's the reason on the property tax records is tax exempt charitable. So they pay 0 tax according to property tax records. Because it's
correct.
It's an in lieu of payment.
Payment in lieu of tax.
I don't know if I would classify it as abatement
Correct.
so much as an in lieu of.
Correct. You're correct, Tom. I'm sorry.
there's something misstated then on the public records for the property tax records. We're talking about the owners of it's Franklin Square Village LLC or something like that, is it, or something?
It's a new entity that's taken over the complex.
When was this built? Do we know roughly? And it's still under some kind of a property tax abatement.
It was a long-term pilot program.
Do these units, 224 units, it says in the resolution, do they count toward our affordable housing mandate?
They are in our equation, correct. Franklin Square is part of the computation.
But it's existing. It's this project or this transfer, this resolution of need won't give us 224 units to count toward our 1,000 mandate, 1,000 unit mandate.
They've already been counted in that.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Thanks, Pete. Anyone else on agenda items? Sam?
Evening, Council. Sam Sweet from Muriel. Resolution 29, the adopting of the temporary budget. Is that just saying that you're adopting a temporary budget because the one hasn't been passed yet, and you can go up to 26% of last year's budget spending?
Yeah.
Right now?
It's may I speak?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
So it's by state statute. This is what each municipality is required to do. until such time as they adopt their actual budget, which then would supersede this and be in place of it. It's permitted formularily to go to that percentage of the prior year budget, and every town has to do this.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was reading it correctly. When will the budget be ready? Do we know? Ballpark?
I don't believe the state has released dates as far as when they want the introduced budget and when we will need to adopt at this point. They've actually changed the date, I believe, of the required annual financial statement unaudited, which typically would be required, statutorily would be required by February 10th. That's been extended, so they've extended a couple different things. I can't tell you that at this point.
Okay, all right. With Resolution 33, dealing with AMR, do we have any oversight over them? Have you guys considered, that's my first question, is do we have any oversight over them?
Go ahead, Tom, I'll let you answer.
Well, when you say oversight, it's when we received proposals based on the RFQ that was advertised in November of 2017, the proposal that was submitted were two proposals, one by GTEMS, one by AMR. The proposal that was submitted by AMR was a zero cost proposal. So there are no costs being borne by Gloucester Township. So as far as overseeing operations, no, I would not. I would say to you, we do not have anything to do with overseeing their operations. We have, though, assisted them and will be assisting them in locating a rig or their rigs at certain locations, whether that be the aerial rescue squad building or the Glendower rescue squad building. They also operate, because I know I've met with several representatives of AMR, they operate from a mobile standpoint where they may station a rig, let's say for example at Kmart Plaza, and may dispatch from that location. They may travel to town and go to a Wawa or go to some other place and just be dispatched from those locations. But no, there is no oversight, so to speak. Chief, if I'm wrong, please correct me.
No, well said.
Is it something council would consider doing? Because, with GTMS, they went, I don't want to use the words belly up, but they're no longer under contract because of, from what I've heard, mismanagement of funds or mismanagement overall because their vehicles weren't up to snuff. So, and I believe in 15 we had a similar problem with GTMS where Kennedy took over for a limited time.
I would not draw a correlation to the AMR that you're drawing from GTMS.
I'm not saying that AMR is GTM.
A nationally recognized company. They have the assets and the wherewithal to provide state-of-the-art equipment, ambulances. They've had a number of job fairs. We're very close, I believe that by the 21st of January, we will be 100% switched over to AMR. So I hear what you're saying about GTEMS. I don't draw the same correlation.
But I guess, is it a consideration? Because technically AMR, I'm not saying that they will or that they have. AMR did declare bankruptcy back in 2001. I know that's been discharged. But when we're talking about, the public safety and public health, you guys made the switch over, which is good. But if we don't have any oversight, some townships have an oversight where they report in to make sure that the ambulances are running properly, that they're passing inspection, that they're not mismanaging funds. Just wondering if council would consider that.
We will receive quarterly reports because those reports were required under the RFQ that they submitted their proposal. They're still bound to the RFQ that was advertised. In there are certain reporting requirements with regard to quarterly reports I believe there's another type of report that they have to submit also to us, that yes, they have to keep us informed. But as far as us dictating how they operate their rigs or how they staff or how
No, I'm not asking.
operationally, no.
No, not operationally, but just oversight, making sure that they're,
Yes.
because
They will be
from my seat, and apologize if I'm still overstepping here, it doesn't look like that happened with GTEMS.
No, they will be reporting back to us, and that will involve not only the financials, but also the call time lengths, any anomalies that occur that should be brought to our attention. Again, Chief, I'll defer to you. Basically, that's. Am I explaining that correctly?
Yes, I mean, all the reports that you mentioned in the RFP, I think the oversight is the contract that's been agreed upon. If they don't meet the conditions, then we would challenge it.
Is that a different contract than what GTMS signed, or just GTMS didn't honor the contract? Hence,
No, I executed a contract on behalf of the township with AMR that will take us the full 5 years to December 31st, 2022. Remember, the contract technically started on 1/1/18 with GTMS. GTMS will be out of the picture, so this is the fulfillment of the 5-year contract that they submitted there. Them being AMR.
thank you.
Thank you.
Tom, so if you look at the contract or the reports, the quarterly reports, and you're not happy with response time or the amount of rigs, I guess what remedies do we have as a township to I guess see that they're fulfilling the obligation?
I mean, we will meet with them. We plan to meet with them periodically anyway, but I would defer to Mr. Carlemere with regard to anything that we would deem might violate the agreement.
Well, the township gives them jurisdiction to respond within the jurisdiction of Gloucester Township. We required so many vehicles on a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week basis, and so many vehicles, or 1 vehicle, 2 vehicles.
Yeah, as I understand, it's 2 vehicles at all times, and then during from Monday through Friday, it's a 3rd vehicle from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.
So it's specifics.
That's correct.
When you talk about accountability, you talk about those specifics. And you look at your reports and they're not maintaining that level of vehicle presence. And then you're looking at their response time. When they come in and you speak with them in that conversation, I think you have a right to address that they're not meeting that requirement. That's the basic requirement that they're supposed to be performing by. As far as their finances and things like that, I don't believe the township has control over that.
Thank you.
Just, may I add one last thing?
Sure.
Is that different, the contract with AMR, different than the contract that we have with GTMS, or are they one and the same?
No, they're different contracts.
Different contracts? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ray? Thanks.
Good evening, Council. Ray Polidoro from the Historic Village of Ariel. Can Council be mindful of the microphone location? Some voices are hard to hear in the back, if you wouldn't mind. On Resolution 030 and in the explanation to Mr. Heimball, it sounded like it got a little confusing. Can you tell me who you stated there was a new owner of Franklin Square, is that correct?
I don't recall. Do you know who Nancy, do you know from the documents who they are? I mean, was dealing with their attorney who submitted it over and indicated what they needed to meet their compliance and their approval on their side, finance side, at HMFA, that they needed that additional resolution of need. In other words, government still supporting the resolution of need for the type of structure that Franklin Senior Housing is, and then the consent to the transfer to that assignment of the pilot program.
So that I'm understanding this, it's a privately owned, correct?
Correct.
And what is the name of the current owner?
I don't have that.
passing resolution of need for someone, and I'm not being sarcastic.
I just don't recall.
Passing resolution for someone we don't know the name of?
I just don't recall, because the documents first came in the beginning of December, and then the resolution of need, they followed it up as to having it getting on the agenda. It's a requirement of HMFA that we support the need for this type of housing. They make their application for the affordable funds that they can receive, I would imagine. I don't know how that works. And they just wanted to know that we were consenting to the assignment, and they need this resolution of need to support their application.
Okay. Would it be safe to assume, or let's actually make it factual, this new owner is not Franklin Square LLC? Who acquired this property in April of 2010? This is someone other than them?
Well, it's Franklin Square Preservation LP. That's the new entity, Franklin Square Preservation LP. That's how they're identified.
Are they not associated with the former Franklin Square organization out of New York on 54th Street, New York?
They have a New York address to my recollection, but I don't believe it's the same entity. That's
Okay.
my understanding when the information came in. And this is probably the second time that that's happened in my recollection with Franklin Square. It was assigned once before to someone else. So it's standard type documents. I mean, the attorney indicated he would be available to be here tonight. I honestly didn't think there would be the type of questions that you're having, so I told him he didn't have to be here. I would imagine he'd be willing to come if our next meeting, if council directed, just to give an explanation.
Question being that
Correct.
this was under tax exempt status, under charitable.
Well, it's pilot. It's not tax exempt. There's a payment in lieu of taxes.
And that, didn't we have that discussion back, was it in the summer when they changed hands? I forget the time frame, but I know it came before council.
Yeah, there was
When there was the change.
There was a discussion to do the change, and as long as I've been up here, this is probably the second time that I recall this is the second time that I recall that complex has changed ownership.
To the best of your knowledge, prior to them being on a regular tax payment program.
Well, when you say regular tax payment program, to my recollection, it's always been under a pilot.
Yep.
Okay. Was the organization Franklin Square LLC, to the best of your knowledge, associated with it and any faith-based organization out of New York?
Faith-based?
Yes.
I don't know.
Reason I'm asking is that if we're talking about something that was faith-based at the time and received any type of charitable discount or reduction in cost, are they not applying for federal or state money to do the work that needs to be done?
I don't know how in your mind, what you mean by charitable, faith-based. And they got a charitable tax exemption. They have an agreement for payment in lieu of taxes that's generated many years ago. At one point, the local housing authority, or Gloucester Township Housing Authority, years back, was managing it. The last time it transferred, that management was lost by the housing authority, by the type of management that they had transferred. So I don't know what you mean by charity or faith-based.
Do we know offhand what type of taxes were collected from those properties since 2010? Any figures? Ballpark figures?
I don't have that.
He can get you that information on tax credit.
Okay. Like I said, I didn't expect them to be complicated, but when the explanation had gone out, it seemed a little bit spun of what I had thought it to be, because I was just going to sit in the back and watch tonight. Thank you.
Honestly, didn't anticipate, because the attorney said, "Do you want me to be there?" I told him he didn't have to, because it seemed like a routine type transfer.
It just was clarity. I'm not holding your feet to the fire. Thank you.
Thank you. Sam?
Sam Sweet from Ariel. Just quick follow-up questions. You say that the Franklin Square is a payment in lieu of taxes. what does that mean?
There's an agreed number of payment based on the revenue generated, I would imagine. It's how you usually see those pilot programs. And it's an agreement through the township of what they pay in lieu of taxes. And it goes strictly to the municipality.
Do we have a copy of that agreement?
I haven't seen it in a while. So whatever's been there is just being assigned to this new group.
So what do they pay to the township if they're not paying taxes?
They're paying taxes, but it's in lieu of a normal tax assessment criteria.
Okay, all right, I just didn't know what that was, so I just need a clarification. With this, the rehab, Franklin Square Preservation LP, they're paying for all the rehab? Or is the township?
It's Franklin, the LP, they're taking over, whatever they're doing.
So they're taking over, they're paying for it, doesn't cost the township a dime?
Correct.
And then there's payment in lieu of taxes. That. With the follow-up to the marijuana, that we're not getting them, do we know who's getting them?
I have no idea where in the state who's been approved. I have no idea.
Because it was two for South Jersey.
I heard a rumor Vineland is one.
Just was wondering if we
That's
knew anything.
hearsay. I don't know if that's correct.
These are medical marijuana sites.
And then we're still waiting on whether or not the state's going to legalize it for recreational use, correct? Yeah, they're all looking at you, Mr. Owens. So, all right, that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Just a point of clarification.
Go ahead.
So in the 2018 budget, based on realized revenues from 2017, the amount paid by Franklin Square was $202,479.
Thank you. All right. Seeing no other hands for the public portion on agenda items, we will close that portion. Resolution of consent agenda. I do have to make you aware of a change on Resolution 1901-32, resolution appointing members to the Gloucester Township Municipal Utilities Authority. Joe Pillow will remain the same, but we need to, Ken Garbowski will be filling the unexpired term of Dolly Guevara. He will be moving from alternate number 2 to a regular member. Am I explaining that right, Nancy? Yes. Okay, and then Frank Dentino will go to alternate number 2. That's the only change that I have on the consent agenda. Does anyone have any questions or wish to change anything? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda with that change.
Second.
Okay. Roll call?
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Owens?
Yes, with one exception. I abstain from PO number 18-06437 and PO number 19-00033. And yes to everything.
Mrs. Stubbs?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes.
Mr. Munoz?
Yes.
Mrs. Trotta?
Yes.
Regular agenda, resolution 33, resolution confirming execution of agreement with American Medical Bonds, Mid-Atlantic Incorporated, AMR, to provide emergency ambulance services in the township of Gloucester.
Are there any questions on that? I think we pretty much exhausted that one. All right, do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Owens?
Yes.
Mrs. Stubbs?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes.
Mr. Munoz?
Yes.
Mrs. Trotta?
Yes. All right, we do have one GTE Gov access question from Denise Coyne. Sorry. Do you want to ask your question, Ms. Coyne, or do you want me to go ahead and go forward with it? Sure. What is the purpose of the Gloucester Township Multiple Dwelling Commission and why do we need it? The members of that commission are Dave Mayer and Tom Cardis. And I'm going to actually defer to Dave to further explain that commission.
So Tom and I had a conversation basically and took a look at the past history. It's always been, since I recall back to 2000, 2001, that commission had a purpose of being available to make last minute decisions or emergency decisions. Let's say if someone called a tenant and their water heater blew, or they had no heat in the dead of winter, there had to be an emergency and they couldn't get a hold of their landlord. The decision could be made under that commission by the mayor or business administrator to either move them or fund them, and then the responsibility becomes the landlord to reimburse the township for the funds that are paid out of that account. I believe there's $38,000 that's in the account right now. That's been maintained in that account. I don't recall it ever being utilized.
No. There may have been one time with a hot water heater, and then that was reimbursed.
I think that ordinance goes way back to the establishment when the township was greatly involved with rent stabilization.
Thank you. Is good, Denise? Yes. Okay. You're welcome. All right. We now have the second public portion. This is open to any item the public chooses to address to the Township Council. Again, anyone addressing council may speak one at a time. Once all those wishing to address council have had their terms, they may address council a second time. Anyone? Yes, sir. Come on up.
Good evening. Tom Jordan from Terrestrial in Gloucester Township. I had a question on the painting of our parking lot lines for parking spaces for our automobiles. Our association many years ago painted lines for parking, but they're very long. They go about 15 feet. They're longer than any car, even an SUV. And I'm wondering, can the association exercise any judgment as to the length of the lines, in other words, to make it look more sightly?
Right. Is that Tom or Dave? I don't know.
I don't know if they're not probably a dedicated area. If it's parking, it's probably all condos. The association with.
Yeah, it's townhomes.
So I would tend to think you take a look at, unless the township has jurisdiction over the areas, the parking areas, or the streets, I would believe the association bylaws would regulate how that should be done.
Okay, the bylaws.
They can call the township for whatever the municipal standards would be.
I mean, that's what I'm trying to find out. Are there any regulations out there that are binding on the association to adopt when they?
I don't think it would be binding. What's the standard for a parking lot size, striping size?
It's a private parking lot.
9 by 18 is typical. 9 foot wide, 18 feet long.
That's really long. I mean, for a private.
That's a compact. It's residential site improvement standards. The state of New Jersey Administrative Code, residential site improvement standards. You check that. Residential.
Okay.
Site, S-I-T-E, improvement standards. If you Google that, you'll.
For the state of New Jersey?
It's the state of New Jersey Administrative Code. NJAC.
That's impressive. You pulled that right out of the
Yeah. 5:12.
That's no doubt that.
Okay. So even though it's private property, there are state laws that govern this type of thing?
Yes, because in a nutshell, in the 80s, every town had their own standards. And the developers throughout the state got together and said that we should have one standard for all municipalities, and that became enacted. But 9 by 18 is a typical driveway space, a parking space.
Well, it's just, this is front end going into, say, by the lawn, front lawn area. So it's not side by side, it's front end to back end parking.
Yeah, it's parallel parking,
No problem.
90-degree parking,
Yeah, it's
9 by 18
perfect.
diagonal parking.
9 by 18.
The only difference is the aisleway.
But it's 9 by 18.
That's pretty standard.
Okay.
I think you'll find that.
All right,
It might be
thanks a lot.
something smaller for compact cars.
All right, thank you.
So,
Thanks a lot.
thank you. So, Mr. Jordan, I just want to make sure I'm on the same page. So he will go back to his housing, his community association to further investigate that information, and he has the information for the state.
Well, first I'm gonna look for that code
Right.
first and
Okay.
make sure that we understand it and they have it, and we can go from there.
Great.
I think what they've done is probably, from the looks of it, they probably have met that code because the lines they're probably easily. I didn't like to think that they were 18 feet long, but I think they are.
Chase,
go ahead.
the only thing I could think that could be different, possibly, is when terrestrial was approved by the planning board in the 70s, that maybe they had a reason for doing less than that, and they received a waiver.
Mm.
Because back then, the spaces were 10 by 20, even wider. But they reduced them since to 9 by 18. But they may have had a reason for compact cars to go even less.
Okay.
And that would be okay as long as the planning board approved it. But
Okay.
they're probably following what I stated.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Jordan. Anybody else on the public portion? Pete?
Behind Ball Morningstar Court. On these medical marijuana dispensary applications that we saw, the mayor stated that he placed a condition on these applicants that they build and lease from the township land on the Nike base. Is that proper to put such a condition on on a business that comes into town? Is that even, we have planning boards, we have zoning laws that tell you where you can go. We have planning boards that tell you that meet the code and your traffic studies and all that thing. But I've never heard where it's proper to have a business come in town and have a condition of where they must locate as a condition of coming in and doing business.
I think part of the requirement for an application in the state, like, again, I'm not positive, but I think part of that process was that that you had to have an area where you were going to locate it, and that's why we chose that area. There wasn't a lot of time. This thing passed, and there was literally a matter of 5 to 7 days for anybody who wanted to make an application to file that application.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct, because I understand the requirement when individuals were making their application to the state is the state was looking for support by the municipality and what location. And they were evaluating not only the individuals, but then also, I guess, locations, and that the municipal government officials were supporting them coming. Other than leasing, there was no other revenue provisions for a municipality for something like that coming in.
So the condition our township placed on these applicants was to go to this property, build, and then lease from the township. So that,
Well, I guess they chose sites that were they thought were most appropriate and available and would give them the best odds for getting approval. And they probably were areas that were owned by the municipality. That it wasn't that the municipality forced sections on them because they had a right to say, well, I don't like this section on what highway it's on, but they probably all said, we're interested in coming to your town, what do you have? This is a location we'd like to be in, and I would imagine it was end up being township-owned properties, and they would we would support it, I would imagine, that the letters that came out for support, and you'd rent it from us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oops, sorry. Seeing none, I close the second public portion. Polling of directors.
Mr. Carliner?
Nothing to report.
Mr. Cardis?
Nothing to report.
Mr. Lackner?
Nothing to report.
Chief Earl?
Nothing to report, thank you.
Mr. Chadwell?
Nothing to report.
Mr. Hutchison?
Thanks for coming out, guys.
Mr. Owens?
Thanks for coming out. Just wanted to congratulate Chief Earl and the police department on the partnership with the NHTSA, the campaign to drive sober or get pulled over year-end holiday crackdown. Just to give you some statistics, between December 7th and January 1st, GTPD increased the enforcement operations, and due to those efforts, arrested 13 offenders for DWI. 61 drivers were issued for summonses for driving with suspended licenses, and 83 summons for careless, reckless, or otherwise unsafe driving behavior. So, Chief and your team continue to keep GT residents safe. So kudos to all of you. Also, with the snowstorm we had, Public Works, they did a great job with the roads as always. Chief, your officers also keeping everyone safe out there. Make sure you keep recycling, and remember, pizza boxes with oil stains on it cannot go in recycling bins. They go in trash. And my final comment, one of our Gloucester Township residents is kind of starring on a television show. It's called The Titan Games on 8 p.m. NBC at Thursdays, and it's a show of mental strength, physical toughness, and he is a sensei here in our community. And Max goes there. Sam's son goes there as well. John Bruschetti. He's just a phenomenal human being, and I just tell everyone, tune in 8 p.m. on NBC on Thursdays, and you'll see just an incredible person competing and making South Jersey and Gloucester Township proud. He lives right in our community. He has not been on yet, so keep tuning in. Then is a quick plug for what he does. But his name is John Paul Bruschetta. Couldn't be proud of him.
Mrs. Stubbs?
Well, after that, thank you for drive safely.
Mrs. Winters?
Just thank you for coming. Have a great week.
Mr. Minnion?
Thank you for coming. Everybody be safe. And if you're looking for something to do on this Monday, January 21st, for Martin Luther King Day, we'll be having some work details going on at CW Lewis, starting at 8:30 a.m. Thank you. Be safe.
Mrs. Frada?
Okay, well, I don't think I have anything to add after, thank you, Councilman Mignon, about the reminder for Martin Luther King Day. Please come out and work with all of us that day. It's a great day to give back to the community, and it's so great to see all the kids and students put their time in and enjoy it. Go ahead, Denise.
I thought that started at 9, not 8:30.
Oh, it might be 9 now.
I think it's, isn't it 8? Oh, I don't, last I knew it was 8:30 started the ceremony, and then that's supposed to be only a half hour.
Typically,
I have
some
not
registration started at 8:30.
Okay, I'll look at it.
I may be wrong also, but
Unfortunately, I have not heard differently from Orlando. I can check in with him and make sure that it's all properly up. Okay, thanks. And thank you, Mr. Owens, for the update with the your updates with the police. I appreciate it. My apologies again for the delay in closed session. Thank you for your patience and have a good night. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Second. Okay. All in favor? Thank you. Thanks, John.
You guys, very good.
Let me grab this mic.
See you, Scott. Have a good time.
I'll see you guys in the